Welcome to the Space Force Mascot diary entry from 6th of June 2020. Dear Diary, the full moon was playing hide and seek behind the clouds last night, and mighty winds were spreading the songs of the trees. I felt a great energy in the air, and anticipating a big storm coming, I secured the vulnerable pots on the balcony and closed all the windows before making myself comfortable to watch the lightning show, when I suddenly noticed that the air had gone silent and the earth had stopped moving. A long-bearded man with a feather helmet appeared in the sky, holding up a sword before he pointed it at me. As the man slowly faded away, the sword began to move towards me, and while it came closer, I saw it transform into a large bird. I was thinking, what a beautiful bird! And at the same time, it landed on top of the walnut tree outside of my window. There, he puffed his chest and turned his head sideways, showing off his flawless profile. I opened the window, and here he was even more beautiful. I admired him for quite a while, and I began to wonder if he expected me to say something. And while I was thinking about something to say, he turned his head and looked me right in the eye, and suddenly I asked him, "What's your name?" He answered, "I am the Falcon's Flight." I was very happy to hear that, because it is of great advantage for the Space Force mascot to be familiar with the Falcon's flight, and I told him, "I am very happy to meet you." And he said, "That's right." I felt that there was no need to tell him anything, because he already knows. So I asked him, "Why did you come?" And he answered, "I have come in a matter of consequence. A lone ash in the high land has forgotten about its root." I agreed that this is a matter of consequence, and in one beat of the wing we arrived at our destination. The lone ash looked perfectly fine. Only its keys pointed to a problem in deep space, because they were plums. I asked the ash, "How do you do?" He answered, "I think about producing plums all day." And I asked, "Why do you produce plums?" He laughed at me and said, "What a silly question! Can't you see that I'm a plum tree?" I walked around him to study all his angles, from up close and from the distance, and came to the conclusion that he was indeed an ash that bore plums. I sat down on one of his roots and let my eyes wander over the valleys. "The view from up here is much better," I heard the ash say. "You are welcome to sit in my crown and see for yourself, if you can climb." Due to my vast experience in tree climbing during childhood, I felt fit for the job and climbed to the very top of his crown. and the view was indeed magnificent. I could see so far that I didn't even know what I was looking at. Then I saw a woman with a basket approach the ash. I heard her sing about how much she loves plums, and the ash rustled his leaves and said, "I have the best plums. I am the fruit I bear. I am a plum tree." The woman then hit the ash with a stick 3 times, and he dropped all his plums at once. The woman collected them in her basket and said, "Your plums are good, but not good enough. You can do better." I realized if I wanted to get to the bottom of the plum-bearing ash, I had to follow the woman with the basket. We walked 9 days into the underworld and arrived at the well that the root I sat on drinks from. All the plums in her basket were fermented, and she poured them into the well and stirred the brew for 9 days. On the 10th day, 6 more women came to gather, and they drank from the brew all night until they passed out. I picked up one of their cups and helped myself to a drink from the brew for investigative reasons, and came to find that it was too bitter to taste. I left the party and walked 9 days back up to the highland and the lone ash. I climbed into his crown and enjoyed the view for a while. Then I asked him, "Why do you give all your plums to the woman?" He rustled his leaves and said, "Because she loves me." I remembered the song she was singing, and I said, "She loves your plums." The ash replied, "That's the same thing, because I'm the fruit that I bear." I thought about this argument and decided to challenge it. If you are the fruit that you bear, and you and your fruit are one and the same, then the woman will love you with or without your plums just the same. "Of course," answered the ash, slightly annoyed, and I said, "Good. I was thinking, since you have such strong and perfectly grown branches, how would you like to have a swing?" He thought about it for a while, and then he asked me, "Do you like to swing in trees?" "I love it!" I exclaimed. "Swinging in trees is my second favorite thing to do." "What's your first favorite thing to do?" "Dreaming about it." He didn't say anything after that, and we watched the stars all night in silence together. At the point between night and day, he whispered, "I don't know what dreaming is, and I don't know what my second favorite thing to do is, but I want to learn about swinging." I cheered and clapped my hands in joy and dismounted the ash to tie a swing on his arm overlooking the North Valley, with the material brought to me by the falcon's flight. One side in the sun and one side in the shade, all day I swung on the ash's strong and ever-enduring arm. The next day, a little girl came up to the high land and said, "I come from the North Valley, and I saw you swinging in this tree yesterday. May I try it?" "I don't know," I answered, and turned to the ash. "Of course," he said, and rustled his leaves. "Every child that wants to swing on my arm and enjoy the view with me over the valleys is like a child of mine." The little girl loved it very much, and the next day she brought her friend, and then her friend brought another friend. And so the lone ash of the high land spent the rest of the year swinging with the children of the valleys, spreading out their colorful stories on the airwaves. And when the white silence came, he dreamed all winter about the magical worlds they were talking about. When time came for the woman to return, she found the ash to be without plums. She asked, "Why do you not have any plums for me today?" And the ash answered her, "I didn't think about it." "Why not?" "Because I gave all my branch space to the children of the valleys to swing and climb on, and my crown was filled with their big ideas, and the winds carried their laughter through all the worlds." The woman nodded her head, and before leaving forever, she said, "Very well. Now that you remember, there is no necessity for me to go back. Your well can never be poisoned again, and the laughter of the children will be heard in all the worlds, and they will come to you for playtime, and they will come to you for comfort, and they will come to you for strength, and in times of need. And they will remember that they are heavenly children." The next day, the lone ash received its first keys, and they are very small and only grow on the fine ends of the branches, where no tree-climbing child can reach them. Back home from the high land, at my open window, I asked the falcon's flight, "Are you familiar with Silver's song?" He puffed his chest and rustled his feathers and said, "I know her well. Some call her Fast Traveler. Some call her Crazy Horse." We both snickered a little, and before he left, he asked me to let you know that all spaces matter. Thank you for listening. See you next time.